let's talk about setting the mood for birth. Now, this is all going to depend on where you plan to give birth. If you're giving birth in a hospital, or if you're choosing a birth center, or if you're like me and want to give birth at home. And this can be one of the great questions to ask in those initial appointments with your provider of what are my options, for the day that I do deliver. What things can I shift or modify, or do I have any range when it comes to how I design the space for the big day? Now, depending on where it is, like I said, that you're planning to birth, your options are going to differ. I'm going to speak specifically about home birth, and that's where my experience lies, and I'm going to talk about some of the things that I did with our first home birth, and then how I'm making some shifts and changes going into our second home birth. We did our first home birth in 2022 here in Nashville, Tennessee, and I put so much thought into what I wanted that space to look like and how I wanted that space to feel, because for me personally, the more comfortable I am in the environment that I'm in, the more relaxed I'm going to be, the more at ease I'm going to be, which during labor, the more we can stress less, the better it's going to go. So it's important for you to write down, what are some things that help put you at ease? What are some things that help calm you down? Is it relaxing music? Is it a sound machine? Is it a diffuser in the room? Is it the lighting, Or is it how many people are in the room? When you're at home, you have a lot more flexibility than if you're at a birth center or if you're at a hospital. Because in my own home, I essentially have free range to do whatever it is that I want to do. It all depends on how much effort you really want to put into it. So with my planning for birth number 1, I wanted 3 different rooms set up depending on, I didn't know where I was going to want to give birth, but I wanted 3 options. And that sounds like a lot, but hear me out. So option number 1, I set up a bedroom. So it was one of our spare bedrooms. And when you're prepping for home birth, I'll make a whole video on a home birth checklist and everything that we prepare with and how you do setup. But for the bedroom, I had one whole room prepped and ready for home birth. And it's not a lot of prep that goes into it. You get sheets that if, anything gets on them, you're not worried about tossing them. They're not like brand new, your nicest sheets, You put on a set that you're okay with. If something happens, you're okay with letting them go. You put protective covers over the bed so that if any fluids or anything gets on it, it's not going to go into the bed itself. And one thing, and I'll talk about this more in the home birth prep video, is you essentially make your bed, make it really nice, and then you put the protective sheet over top of that, covering that sheet set, and then over the protective layer that's waterproof, you put another sheet set. That way, the day that you actually give labor, if you choose to do it on the bed, then you can get that one set of sheets, like you can let them, whatever it is happens to them. And then for cleanup, you just pull those sheets off the bed, pull the protective layer off the bed, and then you already have a nicely made bed that's ready for you to crawl into and that's clean and just ready to go. So I had one bedroom set up that way, and you never know what time of day you're going to give birth. And it just so happened that I gave birth at noon. And noon lighting wasn't what I would have wanted. And thankfully, we planned ahead. I put blackout curtains on all of our windows that we were potentially going to give birth in. So it's just two bedrooms in our house, and then the other one is the bathroom that I'll talk about. So I just hung up blackout curtains, and that's not what I normally have hanging. So I specifically switched the curtains going into that pre-labor period so that if I happened to give birth in the middle of the day and it was too much light for me, I had the opportunity to close those curtains and essentially give off the illusion of nighttime, which is exactly what we did. The room that I gave birth in was very dark. Now, not dark to the point that you can't see, but it was very low lighting so that my mood is so much more at ease. Having a few people in the room with me, you know, it's not as intimidating for me personally to have that low lighting and be able to just dim the lights a little bit and not have a blaring, you know, overhead light on top of me. I just didn't want that. If it's in the middle of the night, you could just have a lamp set up and put that in the room. I had one in the bedroom and then I had one in the second room that I'll explain in just a moment. That way, like I said, if it's the middle of the night, we don't have to turn on the big overhead light. We can just turn on the smaller lamp. It's a much more soft light, and that was more agreeable for me. So think about the lighting that you want. You'll see on social media a lot, people do string lights and lots of beautiful, fancy, amazing things. I didn't do anything fancy. I just wanted it to be comfortable. So I really thought about what puts me most at ease, and do the same for you. Make a list. What helps you be the most relaxed? And think about the lighting, think about the visuals, think about, you know, like, does clutter stress you out? If it does, the room you want to give birth in, try and declutter it right before labor. You know, just put everything in a closet if you have to. Just do whatever it is so that you're not thinking about those things when you're in the thick of labor. You can just be at ease. Now, the second room that we had prepped for labor was a room that had enough space to put our birth pool. So that way I had one room that had a bed as an option. I have a second room that has the amount of space to where we can inflate the birth pool and fill it up, and I could move into that room to give birth if that was the choice. That room, I did the exact same thing as I did with the bedroom. I put blackout curtains up on the curtain rods. And normally in that room, I have very sheer, like, I love daylight. I love daylight, you know, when I'm not giving birth. I love plants and I love all the natural lighting. But when it comes to, you know, when you're in the thick of having a baby, I knew that I would be more at ease if I had the opportunity to have control over that light setting. So I did blackout curtains in that room as well. And for the most part, that was all I did to prep. I made sure there was a lamp so that if it was the middle of the night, we could have a low lighting option. And then I made sure the curtains. And then the third room that I had prepped, that one didn't really need any prep. It was just a bathroom that we have right next to those two rooms. So that if I wanted to get in the bathtub or just be on the bathroom floor or, you know, any option in the bathroom, we have very heavy blinds in our bathroom that when you close them, it essentially makes the room dark. So I wasn't worried about curtains or lighting in there. And so that one, like I said, that one was pretty easy. I know it sounds like intense that we prepped 3 rooms, but it's not intense preparation. The other thing that I really thought about when it comes to setting, you know, the mood for birth and labor, I went so hard with buying essential oils, getting all the things that I would want to set the mood, to have the mood. And I had them all ready. I had the diffusers ready in the rooms. I had the oils ready. Everything was so accessible and so easy. And then the day that we went into labor, you never know who you're going to be the day you go into labor. I feel like it really makes you fall into this primal sense of yourself, and it can be a little bit different than your everyday average sense of self. And for me personally, the day I gave labor, I wanted nothing to do with oils. I didn't want them anywhere near me. I didn't want diffusers on. I didn't want anything on my body. I didn't want any smells at all, which is fine. You know, we over prepared for that one, and that's fine. I just didn't end up using them. I ended up loving them in postpartum, so they didn't go to waste. It's just I didn't want them the day of, but I had them there just in case I did. So I like preparing, but you never know if you're actually going to use it. Another thing is, what do you want to listen to while you're in labor? You know, you can find pre-recorded tracks of, like, do you want a podcast that is talking you through breathing or talking you through mindset? Or do you have birth courses that you have purchased that have pre-recorded things that you can just listen to on loop? Do you want headphones? You know, maybe have the headphones in the room ready and charged and good to go, or have the option to where you can just turn the sound on in the room and that's what you're listening to instead of just people talking or chattering. You know, you can control the noise. You can also think of music, or think of, I would kind of lean into having a variety of options on deck and just prepped and ready. And the day of, honestly for me, the day of, I wanted silence a lot more than anything else, which is so easy, you know what I mean? Then you have people kind of, you know, keep to themselves while you just kind of breathe through things and work through things. That was also very doable. That's just communication, you know, talking to your birth team and talking to your spouse the day of, hey, I just want some space, you know, and I didn't think I would want that, and you never know. So that's the sound. Really think about what you want your sound options to be. And like I said, I would have a couple of them because you don't know who you're going to be that day and you don't know what you're going to want. So have a couple things that are just easy to access, easy to pull up, already have your recordings, already have, if you have like birth affirmations, or if you have just mindset or breathing or anything that you want, have it ready and have it super accessible so that no one's having to find it for you. You're not scrambling because you don't have it ready. That's just part of the preparation for that day. So those are the main ones. I kind of fall into your senses. What do you want it to look like? You know, what do you want that scene to look like? So I think about lighting, I think about clutter, and I think about just easy things to be accessible. Second one is sound. You know, what do you want it to sound like? What noises do you want or not want? What things do you kind of want to try to block out? What do you want it to feel like? I like soft and cozy and comfortable. So anything that I could do to prepare for that was on my list of things that I wanted in the room. I wanted a soft bed. I wanted cozy pillows. We had the birth ball, you know, if you have like a yoga ball, that's highly, highly helpful a lot of the time. And just have all those things already accessible and ready and prepared. It all comes down to what your options even are. If you're giving birth in a hospital, ask them, do I have any control over any of these topics? And if so, which ones? What are my options for the day of? You know, if you can't change the lighting, maybe take something just to cover your eyes so that it feels like it's dark in the room, or, you know, kind of lean into any way that you think it might make you more comfortable. If you don't have options that you can actively play with, what are some modifications that you can make for that? These are all really great things to think of pretty far in advance so that you can already have it prepped, have it ready, so that moving into third trimester and moving into close to your due date, you're just ready to go. And, you know, if you're at home, your rooms are already ready. If you're in a birth center, you already know what to expect. If you're in a hospital, you already know what to expect. You know what your options are, and you are ready to knock it out. So I hope this video was helpful. These are things that I thought about, honestly, coming into birth number 2 with our home birth. There's not much that I'm shifting. I'm pretty much keeping all of our options the same, because while we ended up using the birth pool room for the first birth, I don't know what I'm gonna want for the second birth, so I'm still gonna set up all 3 rooms. I'm gonna have the bed as an option, I'm gonna have the bathroom as an option, and still have the birth pool as an option if that's what I so choose that day. So just think about these things, visualize what you want that day to look like, how you want it to go. Visualize it going perfectly, looking perfectly, smelling perfectly, feeling perfect. What does that look like to you? Now, you might not be able to achieve that, but what are some things that you can try to get close to achieving that and just work towards setting that up now? I hope this was helpful. If I forgot anything, or if you have any tips or tricks to add, make sure you put them in the comments. But happy birth planning, guys.